never seen you turn and run away from somebody out of absolute nervousness to meet them.
But like I saw Hugh and he was so much taller than I thought he was going to be. Which is so funny. Oh, that's you, Kelly. I don't think my hair looks good.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Made Me Do It podcast. My name is Dario and I'll be hosting most, if not all of these episodes. Today I'm sitting down with two of my teammates, Katie Burnett and Fanie to talk about many things, but the main is a bit of a debrief around our trip to Athens, to the World of Coffee and to the World Barista Championships. We've got some good stories, some funny stories, and I'm sure it's going to be a good time. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
dude.
It's great to be here.
It's great to be here as well.
So for those of you who are listening in for the first time, if you aren't familiar with our team, I'm sitting with, so my name is Dario, and I have the privilege of being at the helm of this ship known as Bluebird Coffee Roastery. And Fanie, to my left, is our roastery manager, production roaster, doer of all the things in the roastery and production space. And to my right is Katie Burnett, our creative director, editor of these podcasts, our YouTube channel, our website, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. All the creative things that happen in the world of Bluebird. And a few months ago, we had the opportunity to travel to Athens, to the World of Coffee, a huge coffee festival that happens every year in a few different locations around the world. The European one is definitely the one that interests us the most because we export a lot of coffee to Europe, and we had an amazing time. So we've been threatening to sit down and record this podcast for quite some time. We've actually moved our whole podcasting setup into my lounge, and if you hear some birds chirping in the background, it's because we live in a beautiful part of the world and we have a lot of wildlife around us, and I hope you enjoy the chat that's going to follow. Before getting into Athens, guys, we've just been nominated for 4 awards at the Coffee Mag Annual Awards. Yay! Which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
We've obviously won a few in the past. We've won 3 awards. In 2019, I believe, we won Best New Roastery. In 2020, we won Best New Cafe. And in 2021, we won Roastery of the Year, which for me is the most significant of the 3. And we were nominated for some awards last year. We didn't win anything. It's kind of a weird thing, these awards. They're so important for the industry, and it's such a privilege to be nominated and certainly to win. But yeah, for me, I'm already an anxious person. There's a lot of anxiety around the awards as well, because I know what we do and I know how much work goes in, but we can't win every single year, can we?
Yeah, it would be unfair. It would be unfair.
So to talk about the nominations, we've been nominated for Best New Cafe again, which feels weird, but we are in a brand new building. I don't know if anyone's ever won Best New Cafe twice, but it's a bit of a weird concept. We've been nominated for Alternative Brewing Experience, which is cool because we put a lot of work into our filter coffee. And for our international listeners, that might seem quite strange to you that filter coffee is called alternative brewing, because for most of our European customers, I think we start brewing filter coffee at home and then move on to espresso. But in South Africa, it's definitely espresso first. And anything not espresso feels like an alternative to the mainstream. So that's pretty cool. We've got an insane filter menu. And yeah, very proud of that one. And then we've been nominated for Roastery of the Year again, which is fantastic. 3 years in a row. I think that's definitely our main focus as a business. And then Lutle has been nominated for Trainer of the Year, which is flipping awesome. I'm super, super proud of him. And he's doing an amazing job. He's actually not with us now because he's busy training.
Currently doing the thing.
Exactly. So, Fans, out of the 4 nominations, which one are you most proud of, I guess?
Wow, dude, that's a tough one. I think all of them are quite significant because, I mean, for Lutle to get recognized for what he's doing, that's a very, very big deal. But I think from a business perspective, definitely the Roastery of the Year nomination is very, very cool because that is the main thing for us.
Exactly.
I think we put a lot of hard work into the past calendar year, as we do every year. But this year, it just feels good to be recognized by our peers for something that we do every day.
Exactly. And Roastery of the Year feels like it encompasses everything we do. You know, the cafe feels like it's actually a part of the roastery. Obviously, Katie, in your world, in the online space, that's contributing so heavily towards the roastery. It's such a big deal.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think for me the best new cafe one is really cool from like a personal work perspective, because where we're located, it's not that much foot traffic. There's not a lot of turnover in terms of customers. So to be able to like have a online presence for the cafe, I think really shows in the nomination, because we don't actually have that many people.
So you're saying we
come
got
to the
nominated
cafe.
for Cafe of the Year by a group of people who've probably never visited the cafe.
Who've seen the photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. So, I mean, these nominations are interesting because it definitely causes us to reflect on the year that has happened. And I think, Katie, your dad gave me some really good advice at the beginning of the year. And he said, there's a lot that's happened in the last 2 years. And from a business perspective, a lot has happened. And we developed a property, the building that we exist in now. And he said to me, I think it's time to just like sit down, relax, let the year happen, do good work, but don't overstretch yourself. I definitely have not taken his advice, and this year has been our biggest one yet. We sat down and actually made a bit of a list of some of the cool stuff we've done, from finishing the build to moving into the cafe and the roastery space to opening a training center, completely evolving and improving on our green coffee program, adding quite a few new producers to our list this year, specifically in the sort of rare and exclusive space, the special release space. We've added a stronghold to our machinery setup. And we visited Costa Rica, visited Alejo, Castro at Volcan Azul, I had the privilege of speaking on a panel at the Producer Roaster Forum in El Salvador, obviously Athens, and so many other things. It's actually a bit crazy to think that all of this has happened in 12 months. So as a business owner and as a leader of a team, I'm super proud of you guys and the rest of our team. So thank you for being such a big part of it. And the other thing that's grown dramatically this year has been Fanie's physical form. Dude, you're looking buff, man.
Oh, dude, on the topic of Athens, right?
Exactly. That's so funny. Before we left, your main goal was to find a gym to drop in on.
Yeah, definitely. But I attribute most of my physical growth to the cinnamon buns in the cafe. So, yeah, that's a nod to the best new cafe award again, right? I really feel like those cinnamon buns are worthy.
That's so funny. And are you're competing in a CrossFit competition this weekend?
Yes, we are. It's just a small competition here in Pietermaritzburg. We are pretty isolated out here in terms of that community, but it is quite cool to just be able to go and test your fitness and hang out with your mates and, throw some weight around.
So cool, man. I did notice today when we were moving that GS3 and those grinders around, you were moving very slowly, not wanting to stress the body before the competition.
Oh, hey? Dude, I'm moving very slowly just because it's so warm, man. It's the coldest day of the week and it's 32 degrees centigrade outside.
Which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
So heat is a really, really good segue into our trip to Athens, because damn, it was hot.
Yeah, it was one of the warmer trips we've been on, I'd say. Hey.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was absolutely amazing. And I think to kick off with, if we go in a bit of a chronological order, we packed up our bags and headed down to Durban. No, we didn't. We drove to Johannesburg.
Like a
bunch of idiots. We drove 6 hours to the airport, from which we were flying to Istanbul and then onto Athens. And as soon as I figured out that the best flights for us would be flying Turkish and going through Istanbul, I knew we had to spend at least a day in Istanbul. It's such an amazing city. I've had the privilege of going twice. Katie, you've been once before. And finally, in 24 hours, we saw a hell of a lot.
Yeah, we covered basically the entirety of the capital city by foot, right?
We hiked the same hill 4 times.
Yes.
Yes, that hill was terrible.
Yeah, it was the elevation change was quite something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we landed in Istanbul, and our first stop had to be Petra.
Yes.
One of my favorite cafes ever. And
well, actually, the first stop was that random cafe in the airport where we got sourced out for making our own coffee using their hot water.
That is so true. We had to go back and ask for hot water 5 times. We definitely got a few looks.
Yeah.
So off to Petra we went, and it did not disappoint.
Wow, yeah, I think that cafe experience, looking back on it now, and it was our first one, but that, like, it set the tone for the 10 days that followed. But that experience to me was quite memorable because it, like, you know, exceeded expectations in every single way. Like, the pastries were so good, the coffees were so good. It was so great to walk into a cafe and the barista kind of, like, it seemed like the baristas knew what they were talking about, right? They could navigate their own menu, which was quite cool. And that is a very rare skill, at least in our part of the world, to find. Those types of cafes are few and far between.
Absolutely. And I think,
We also saw the most hipster 3-year-old ever. Do you remember that little
my
dude cruising with his
days.
dad?
Yeah.
His dad was also pretty hipster. Do you remember that?
yeah, fanny pack on the front.
Yeah.
Like, really just,
Those
living their
old
lives, man.
Adidas shoes. Yeah.
The youth in Istanbul are, like, super trendy.
So true, hey? Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So from an amazing experience at Petra, you know, you start off with this great coffee.
Yeah.
So I think you and I had...
We had the hunkuta, which was in theory an Ethiopian washed coffee, which was quite spectacular. It had, like, that very effervescent lychee situation going on, which was quite nice. I think there was a Peru. Yeah, that's as far as it goes.
I distinctly remember having the conversation that, like, these coffees are amazing, and it kind of set the tone for what we expected was going to be 10 days of amazing coffee. And we did have some amazing coffee, but I don't think we actually had a better coffee than what we had at Petra.
Wow, yeah, I think also just coming off of the airplane.
Yeah.
And, you know, we hopped in a taxi on the way from the airport to Petra. My life flashed before my eyes at least 17 times because I was relegated to the front seat of the taxi in every instance. So henceforth, whenever we talk about taxi rides, remember, I'm sitting next to the driver, right? And Katie and Dario are laughing over at the back.
Videoing Fanie's reactions to the speedometer.
So the taxi ride from the airport into town, straight to Petra, was extremely fast. Like,
It was very
Yes,
fast
yeah.
and very close to the cars in front of us.
Then we went to Petra,
Yeah.
and immediately after that jumped into the most extreme taxi ride I've ever been in.
It was memorable, yeah.
So this guy had, like, oh man,
Dude, we crank open the boot, man. And it's
Yes,
just
that
speakers.
was the introduction. Yeah. Those massive
it was
speakers.
the biggest sound system I think you could fit in a car.
And a massive screen, like between the driver and the passenger seats with all the music videos playing.
And the music was extreme,
Yo.
and the videos were even more extreme.
Yeah.
We're talking, like, not safe for work, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a Tiger music video. I distinctly recall that song plays in my head every now and again. I still hear the echoes deep inside my mind.
And Fanie was, like, doing such a great job of, like, you know, being kind to our taxi driver, and he was actually, like, nodding his head along with this rap music, like he was enjoying it. And Katie and I were in the back just hosing ourselves, getting all of this on video footage. There's actually a video clip on a YouTube video we have on our channel where you can actually see this all going down. It's pretty funny. And then he dropped us off on, like, the edge of the busiest streets in Istanbul.
Yes, and on the wrong side of the road.
And we had to run across this intersection with all our luggage.
Yeah. It was like there was also, like, a lot of barriers in the way and stuff. It was quite the obstacle course. And then just into these beautiful side streets, right? Like, that was, I think we ran straight. Where did we go from there?
To Chronotrop.
That was Chronotrop, yeah. So we were cruising through all of those tiny little side streets.
Grapevines
So
overhead.
Grapevines,
Yes, oh my
roses,
gosh.
all of the beautiful painted buildings. Wow, what a
Yes.
magical town.
It was so good. And what was that comment you made when we were looking at that beautiful building, and Fanie's like, wow, that's a nice shirt.
Oh yeah. There was I think it was some apparel in a window somewhere. I was window shopping, and the shirt's were really nice. Can't remember what the shirt
It was such a good moment. Such a good moment. You know, you got this historic building in front of us, and Fanie's like, wow, that's a nice shirt. So we had some pretty average coffee there.
At Chronotrop, that we had the Indonesian was quite nice. It was the, like, anaerobic fermented Indonesian coffee, which I think I like funky coffee, so I quite enjoyed that. We had another coffee which was probably, I think, a bit more middle of the road. Like, it was still pretty tasty, I think, but it didn't compare to what we had at Petra, to be quite honest with you. Like,
Absolutely.
those coffees just blew me away, man.
Absolutely. And then, we just ran from location to location. Grand Bazaar. We did some cool sightseeing in the heat. And as you guys mentioned earlier, we climbed the same hill 4 times. So
Yes.
we were staying quite close to the main like shopping streets in the new part of the city, and we kept getting dropped off by train and taxi at the bottom of the hill. And then I think we walked 3 times during the day, and we went out for dinner, and we were on the same sort of like altitude
Yeah.
as our apartment, because
Yeah.
we had walked pretty much sideways all the way to dinner.
Yeah.
Popped it into Google Maps, like where are we going from here, after walking around a bit, and it took us right down to the bottom and then all the way back up again.
My goodness.
Ew.
Yeah,
Couldn't
there
believe
was
it.
there was a lot of pent up anger in there. No, the incline on that hill was quite something. Like I remember being scared of falling backwards.
Yeah.
You know, like
It was pretty steep, and at the time I was a few weeks post shoulder surgery.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I had my arm in a sling still, and that's just
Just
like, it's like a
sweating.
sauna. It
Yeah.
was unbelievable for the
Ew.
whole trip.
yeah. By this point as well, though, we had also not showered. I believe
Yeah.
we
Hadn't
we
even made it
boarded the
into our
plane,
apartment.
Yes.
Yeah, like at 10 o'clock on the day before
Yes.
or something. And we landed. When did we land in Turkey? I cannot.
5 in the
remember.
morning.
Yeah.
We landed at
It's
5 in the
early,
morning, so we
yeah.
must have boarded at like jeepers. I don't know.
I think it was like 7 p.m.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we got to the apartment earlier, but we couldn't shower because they were still busy cleaning.
Yes.
Right. So in Turkish summer, which was quite warm, we went and explored the entire town by foot after our flight. Right.
Which was,
Yeah, it was it was
commitment.
quite something. It really was quite something.
but what an amazing time. And yeah, I think, Katie, you found the apartment on Airbnb. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Beautiful views, amazing veranda, one aircon in the lounge
Yeah.
that we tried to cool down the
That was-
whole
Yeah, we just left it
apartment
on the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't do that much.
with. No, it didn't do that much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we ended up having an Italian dinner
Yeah.
Oh,
in
yes.
Turkey at a restaurant that we've now been to 3 times, I think, which is pretty funny. And ice cream and the whole 9 yards. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
we actually had a very Italian experience in Turkey.
Yeah, for sure. I think like one of my like core memories from that trip as well, that portion of the trip, is the Turkish delights that we got at that market near the
Yes.
mosques. That was quite something. Super delicious.
Yeah, amazing. And then really early the next morning, we jumped on a flight to Athens.
Yes.
And after a lot of, oh no, hang on, you had your most expensive coffee of the trip.
oh my
Oh,
days,
yes.
dude! I forget about that. I don't know why I so desperately wanted a coffee, but just there was the spirit inside of me told me you need a flat white now. And yeah, I think it was like something like 175 Turkish lira, which translates to like 120 rand, for like very bad service and very hot coffee. The coffee's actually still warm now. Like it's only cooling off to like hot at this point.
And that Starbucks in the Istanbul airport is the same one that a year ago I burnt my tongue on our coffee so badly. I had, my tongue was a bit like weird for about 4 days afterwards.
Yeah, that
I
was
got
quite
a brown
thing.
sugar frappuccino. I had the best time of my life.
Yeah, you did make the good choice
Yeah,
there.
that was
That was
so
also the same spot where I walked probably 500 miles in a singular
Oh my
direction to go and find Wi-Fi, when all I had to do was go 20 meters
Yes.
up the other way. But I walked to the other side of Istanbul airport, which is one of the largest airports in the world.
Yeah, you disappeared for like half an hour.
Pretty comical.
Yeah, but our flight actually got delayed by like 2 hours at that point, didn't it?
Oh yes, yeah, it did.
So we landed in Athens and head to our car hire company, which is a whole story in itself that we won't get into now. And our world of coffee experience literally started there, because I actually bumped into, I can't remember his name now, man, but he's a producer he's Italian but has a farm in El Salvador.
Yeah, I think El Salvador, I believe, is the farm.
And I met him in El Salvador earlier this year and got to see him again in Athens in the car hire reception, which was pretty funny. And then they ended up taking such a long time to give us our car, but they upgraded us like dramatically, and we got a brand new X-Trail, a model that hadn't even been released in South Africa yet. And I was like, this is the best car I've ever driven in my life. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, didn't it? It still had the plastic on the doors.
Yeah,
it
it's
was-
like 16 k's on the clock.
Yeah,
Something
yes.
stupid like that. All right.
It was so good. And again, going back to the fact that I had my arm in a sling,
Yeah.
And I was the driver. So, I mean, no car company is going to hand over a car to a dude with his arm in a sling. So it was pretty funny. When we met the company's representatives at the airport, I had to quickly take my sling off before they saw me.
Yeah.
And then like walk with my arm hanging at my
little
side.
T-Rex arm.
And just before we left, I'd booked a manual car, a manual gearbox, without thinking. And my mom said to me, like, how are you going to drive this thing? You're going to be sitting on the left-hand side. My right shoulder had been operated on, and I would have to change gears with my right hand. And thank goodness when we got there, they gave us an automatic, because I would have been absolutely stuffed. But we had a great time in that car. We toured the city. We had an amazing apartment again.
But we quickly learned why they upgraded us. Parking that thing, like,
Yeah, it was
like
quite
a
a
tank, and you had to
yeah.
parallel park it everywhere in these tiny spots.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, that was quite a thing. And the little side streets in Greece were
Yo.
rather skinny.
Skinny. That was pretty funny.
But our apartment was like, in the shadow of the Acropolis.
Yeah,
You
that
know.
was crazy.
It was like 5 seconds walk from the Underdog, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
We did go there many times.
We did. It was...
So the Underdog is one of Fanie's favorite cafes and roasteries in the world.
Yeah, man. I think when I got into specialty coffee, I was like one of the first cafes. Was like, those guys are flipping cool, man.
So that was a fun experience.
Yeah, man. Like walking in there, seeing all of they've got all these big murals in the cafe. Beautiful. It is a strata that they have on bar, the black strata with like the yellow stickers, and super super cool, man. Beautiful cafe setup. Obviously the coffees were pretty cool as well when we got there.
The baristas are just so cool as people that it definitely makes me feel like I shouldn't be in coffee. I'm not cool enough.
Crikey, it's quite a thing, man. Like they do seem straight from a magazine, from the Barista magazine.
Yeah.
Straight out of Standard.
We had some Finca Soledad.
We had some Finca Soledad. We also had
Saw some Finca Soledad. Wasn't that where we met Pepe for the first time?
Yes, that's right. As we walked in.
Yeah. Pepe's just chilling there with former latte art world champions and coffee and good spirits winners, and it's just quite a thing to behold for young coffee professionals like us, right, from a small little town. And
hey Dario. That was such a cool meetup.
Yeah.
And we, as I said, we visited that cafe quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely.
Finding out the one morning made coffee in our apartment to drink on the way to the cafe to Underdog. And by the time we got there, the coffee was still too hot to drink. So we ordered coffee and drank the coffee from home first while waiting for the coffee from the Underdog to cool down. And we left way over caffeinated.
Yeah, it was good though. It was very good. Really had a fantastic time there.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. So there were a number of reasons why we went to Athens. And one of the main ones was that the World Barista Champs was going to be happening, and Fanie has ambitions, and Bluebird as a company has ambitions to be a part of the world stage and to represent our country at the World Barista Champs. After winning third place at our nationals, it was a good opportunity to go and see what it would be like when you eventually do qualify to compete, and to feel comfortable in that space after being there, without competing. And then we ended up having some really cool opportunities. We served coffee with the Lamazocco team at the True Artisan Cafe. We served coffee with the Minor Figures guys. We ended up getting to meet some Barista and Brewers Cup competitors through our friends Jordan and Nicole. Jordan was on a podcast recently with me, and I'm actually recording one with Nicole next week, 2 times German Brewers Cup champion, amongst many other accolades. And we had some amazing, amazing times talking coffee, drinking coffee, and all the rest of it. For me, probably the most significant was watching the Ukrainian barista champion prepare and then execute on his set. We'll jump around a little bit here, but I think this is a good sort of story to tell. Fons, I mean, we obviously had known of Vlad, his brother, who won the Brewers Cup championships in Ukraine, and then Ruslan won the Barista Champs the same year. So they had 2 brothers representing the country the same year. Vlad is a well-known coffee professional. He's finished 2nd place at Coffee and Good Spirits, done amazing things in the industry, but Ruslan was like an unknown entity.
18 years old, yeah.
18 years old, doesn't speak a word of English. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. What did he keep saying to us? Like,
yeah, my English very bad, so.
And that was about all we conversed. That and a lot of sign language, informal sign language. But Ruslan's story is absolutely insane. I mean, Katie, you've written an article about it. Like, do you want to give us a little bit of the backstory of like his time preparing for the championships and the stuff he was going through back in the Ukraine and trying to work with Nicole over Skype and that type of thing?
Yeah, so I can't remember the name of their town now that they're from, but obviously in the middle of the Russian-Ukraine war. So yeah, it was kind of the height of the violence in their town when he was months out from World Barista Championships. And yeah, his coach, Nicole, based in Berlin. So yeah, all the coaching happened via Zoom and phone calls and messaging and whatever. And yeah, Nicole tells stories about Ruslan having to like cut the training short or not even go to training because bomb sirens are going off. So yeah, that's kind of where the story starts, set up for an inspirational set.
Absolutely, and his set was based around the struggle. It was based around what he had had to go through to be there. And on stage, Fans, he had before even getting to stage, he had competed with a coffee from a very well-known producer and won the Ukrainian championships, and then wanted to compete with that same coffee at World Barista Champs. So they ordered more of that green. The green arrived, and it wasn't the same coffee. It tasted completely different. We got to taste it, and it wasn't what they wanted. Tell us a little bit about the journey that we got to experience about like from that point to actually competing on stage and what happened to him when he was up there.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I think we met him the first time, and I didn't realize he doesn't speak any English. So I introduced myself, and it's such a pleasure to meet you. And he just shakes his head. And afterwards Nicole fills us in. He doesn't speak any English. He's just this young kid, and he basically had to like learn his script off by heart in English to deliver to 4 judges on stage. And that's quite incredible. We had tasted some of the coffee beforehand with Nicole. We had a sip of an espresso at a practice facility, and we knew of the coffee via Nicole and a few other people that had tasted it before. Ruslan, Vlad, his brother, seemed pretty keyed in on just like helping him prepare and execute his set, not focusing on his own World Brewers Cup set coming up like the very next day. I do say arguably barista has a lot more like nuance to it with regards to like preparation and what you need to do. There's so much more to execute. So barista is quite difficult. And I think it was quite amazing to learn about Ruslan and the fact that he doesn't speak English. He had to learn all of these techniques and things from somebody via a translator, mostly his brother, preparing for competition. And he jumps up on stage and calls time and starts a set, and speaks absolutely beautiful English. And he doses his first set of espressos, and I think it was on his second set of espressos where the grinder malfunctioned and just started spewing coffee out all over the place. And he calls a technical timeout. I kind of had flashbacks because I had to call technical timeout in my first regional barista championships because one of my pieces of equipment wasn't plugged in. Ruslan had a real issue, so I knew the rules around that. From my personal experience, if something shakes you like that, you're not picking the slack up and like just picking up where you left off. But alas, they fix the grinder up. He starts basically from that point in his set on, picks it up perfectly, goes back to dose again, grinder fails again.
And now in the meantime, they're grinding through this tiny bit of coffee that he actually had left.
Yeah.
And there were real concerns amongst the coaching camp that he wasn't going to get to actually serve his coffee.
In real time. Like we were standing there watching the coffee disappear out of the grinder. And it was quite stressful because he was also the last competitor on the final day of the preliminary rounds. So, as he keeps calling technical timeout, the competitors' arena kind of starts filling up with eagerly awaiting coffee professionals to learn who had made it to the semi-final round. And Ruslan's just waiting on stage while the technical judges and head judges trying to sort out this issue on stage. I think, how many grinders was it at the end, Katie?
I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he went through 4 grinders before he got to complete his set. Fortunately, they allowed him to start again from scratch.
Yes, so they gave him a little bit more prep time, and he got to start again from scratch. And that man absolutely iced that set.
It was
Goodness me.
staggering. You know, at the time, I remember thinking, and I think I might have said it to you guys, but like his set and his story was so profound. It felt like lots of people needed to hear it.
Yeah.
And it was almost, it was almost like it was meant to happen that he would be stalled so the room could fill up. And by the time he actually got to put his set down, the room was packed.
Dude, everybody was there. Like,
And I'm getting goosebumps now. It was mental. The guy's a stone cold killer. He just stood up there and delivered.
yeah, like I get like flashbacks to Nicole telling us about how the air raid sirens would be going off and he'd conduct the air raid sirens in the middle of the town square. It's like, yeah, of course he does that, right? He's, nerves of steel, and an absolutely inspirational performance just outside of, the results, which was that he made semifinals at the end of the day, which was quite insane because we didn't expect much to happen because a lot had gone wrong. He had been rattled multiple times, but he put it together on the day. I think placed 14th overall, which was quite special. And we jumped up and down when his name got called.
Yeah, it was a pretty special moment. Absolutely incredible. Vlad also had a really good showing in Brewers Cup.
Yeah.
Didn't go as far as he wanted to, but was really, really solid.
Yeah, I think he represented himself well on the hardest, like I'd say probably the hardest to execute competition of all of them, the Brewers Cup, just from a pure brewing perspective. There's just so little room for error. Quite insane.
And then the final competitor in this little trio being coached by Nicole was Eric, representing Germany. Another young coffee professional. He doesn't even work in coffee. He's a full-time student and has a little part-time gig in a cafe. He's doing some really cool stuff in coffee in Europe. And it was so good to get to know him, and the friendship has continued from there. He actually ordered some coffee off the website last week.
Yeah, we shipped it to him. Some really cool coffees. Hope you're enjoying the coffee, Eric, because he obviously listens to every episode as well.
Absolutely. So we had an amazing time, and just hanging out with Jordan and Nicole. I know you've been following Nicole forever.
Yeah, dude, she, I think she won either like German barista or world. She was like competing on the world stage when I was just getting into coffee. And obviously she's like quite a prolific coffee social media person, celebrity in coffee, as it were. So I was quite starstruck when I met her for the first time, to be quite honest with you. It was quite cool to hang out with her, get to know her as a person. She's exactly the way she seems on social media. And fierce competitor, but also like a super passionate coffee professional with a lot of knowledge and so like willing to share, which is quite cool. And Jordan's just a big old lug, man. Just want to put him in my pocket and take him home with me.
Yeah, we had an amazing time with them.
I remember when I met Nicole for the first time was in El Salvador, and we'd just arrived, and they were at the hotel we were staying at, but our luggage hadn't arrived. And she, like, the first thing she said was like, "You can borrow whatever you want from my closet." It was really cool, yeah. But she also has like insane style. It's amazing. But I was like, I can't pull off any of your clothes.
Nicole was actually on a German, like a very famous German fashion show recently.
On TV.
But that whole, the entire experience in Athens is quite amazing. But the World of Coffee Expo itself was also something quite special. Obviously, we got to see the World Barista Championships.
Absolutely. Who was the star of the show for you on the Barista Champ stage?
That is a very, very, very tough question. I saw Boram Ub's set on the final day, and like, I just thought, wow, that is
flawless,
dude. Like, I just couldn't fault it, man. I didn't necessarily expect him to win, but thinking back to when he finished his set, because I watched that alone, I was like, wow. Oh no, you guys came in like the last
right at the
5 minutes, yeah. Daniela Ricky had an awesome set, lots of theatrics, which was very, very cool.
Dude, he lit his things on fire. Like,
yeah, dude, it was quite insane. He used some flash paper, and he used a very, very interesting coffee from, I believe it was from Colombia. I could be wrong. And I also think that Ben Putt did a really good job in the preliminary round. I think he may have had a tough run in the semifinals because he did obviously not make finals. But I really enjoyed seeing his set and just hearing him speak. Obviously, we've been big fans of Ben Putt for very, very long. He's an awesome coffee professional, and you were lucky enough to spend some time with him in El Salvador as well, in Costa Rica, cupping with Alejo, which is quite cool. So for me personally, I really enjoyed Boram's set because of the simplicity of it, and I really enjoyed Daniel Ricci's set because of the theatrics, which was very, very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you have a favorite set?
Yo. So those two I missed. I think I went to go fetch us some coffee and I ended up getting stuck at the Terre de Cafe
That is the truth.
stand with Marie. She was watching her friend do Ibrich.
Yes.
Yeah, which was super interesting.
And
like,
he
I
won the
watched
World
his set.
Championships.
Yeah, he ended up winning. So that was actually cool to like accidentally see his set. But yeah, super interesting. Like I've never seen coffee being made like that, and yeah, so that was really cool.
And then we got to taste the whole.
Yes, and then we went back
set
later
afterwards.
and saw. Yeah,
Yeah, that was quite an experience that like I
Yeah.
thought about. That was wow. That was quite like you get to taste the winning recipe before we knew he'd won. So we got to taste the espresso,
Yeah.
I guess, and then the signature beverage. And it was very cool, number one, to taste coffee made by a professional that is competing on the world stage at a very high level. But it was also very cool to taste the interpretation of the rules, I think, which was like a very interesting experience for me as a competitor, and to just like pick Pierre's brain and ask questions, and also taste the awesome coffees that Dario was sourcing. That was quite an experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we tasted that coffee, and then Diego Barona from Los Perinos just casually rolled up to the stand and brewed his own coffee.
He's a legend.
That was
man.
so cool. Yeah.
I love that guy. Yeah, there's another episode somewhere back in the archives where I chatted with him about what he's doing at Los Perinos. I
Yes.
think he's the 6th generation farming on his
Very,
family's
very,
land.
very fit Ironman athlete.
Yeah, the guy's a beast.
Amazing guitarist.
And his coffee is just incredible.
Yeah.
We'll be buying a lot more of it next year, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, we got to put a few faces to names and just, have some great experiences with people we've been fans of for a long time and make some new friends. Fons, you got to meet Alejo, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we got to meet a lot of cool people. I remember like the first day we pulled up on the minor figure stand for our first day of service there. Obviously got to meet Paul and the whole team. We had Brian from minor figures, who was quite a fun person to hang around with, and Jeepers Creepers, I'm going to kick myself now, but I'm forgetting Greg. Yeah, we had Greg with us as well. It was quite an interesting experience because I was like, this feels like a normal expo, but then Claire Wallace, former UK Barista champion, pulled up at the stand next to us and was just like casually chatting to Brian, and I was like, okay, cool, this is not normal.
This isn't the Specialty Coffee Expo in 4 ways.
Yeah. Like, I mean, very, very cool event. Like, but, former World Barista champions aren't just cruising around, high-fiving people.
And Lance
so
Hendrick as well.
And Lance Hendrick, yeah. We got to see Lance Hendrick from very far away and also very close.
Yeah. Always good to catch up with Lance if he ever listens to this.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
avid
He's just
listener.
passed 200,000 on YouTube.
Yeah, we're coming
and
for you, Lance.
Yeah.
1 million views on one of his latte art videos, which I think is massive. Popped him a message last night. It's just such a big achievement, man.
Yeah, for coffee content creators to see like figures like that, it's quite insane. I think a couple of years ago, like we could only dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the minor figures experience was super, super cool. And then the next day, I think it was, we ended up brewing coffee at the Lamazaka True Artisan Cafe.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest legends in coffee, Marcus, who owns the Sweet Spot Cafe in Munich, now opening their second location, probably around about when this podcast is aired, came over for multiple reasons, but he spent the day with us brewing coffee at Lamazako's stand, and just we had the most amazing time connecting. I've spoken to Marcus so much over text, email, phone calls, and so on, but to actually spend time together and realize that the dude's the biggest legend, and we're just so stoked to work with him and his team, and we're actually gearing up at the moment to send a lot of coffee their way for the Christmas season, which is super exciting. And we got to put some connections together as well, which is actually all coming together for these coffees we're sending him in December. I had a photo taken with myself, Alejo, and Marcus. We've got the producer, the roaster, and the cafe owner. 3 different continents, similar age group, and just like all passionate about our ends of the supply chain and what we each are doing. And we're shipping 2 Vulcan Azul coffees now to Marcus. So we're putting it all together in in practice as well, which is really exciting. So that was absolutely incredible. And then I think one of the coolest people experiences we had was probably with Pepe on the side of the road.
Oh man, what a guy.
Who spotted him?
I think it
Katie
was
did.
me, yeah.
Yeah, Katie's got
Set
the
the
eyes of
scene
a
for
hawk.
us.
Okay, so we are on our way to the expo, but we've like kind of just left our apartment. We were like 5 minutes into our drive, stuck in like standstill traffic in the middle of Athens. These like skyscraper hotels all around us, and I look. He was on. I think he was actually on the other side of the road as well, so he had to cross over traffic. But there, Pepe was staring at his phone, obviously waiting for an Uber, just on the side of the road. So I'm like, guys, that's Pepe. So we all wind down our windows and start screaming at him. And we'd only met him like the day before for like 5 minutes. So I think it took him a second to realize who
But
was
obviously,
screaming
I've
at
been
him.
speaking to him flat out for a
Yes,
year
sure.
already.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
but in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he like ran across the street, jumped in the car
No,
with
he
us.
jumped in a taxi. We missed him.
Oh my gosh,
He didn't hear us.
yes.
He actually got into his taxi.
Yes, he did.
And then I
yeah.
phoned him.
Yes.
And he jumped in the car with us, and we ended up doing 2 or 3 days of driving together to the conference and just having really cool conversations. Dude, you and Pepe are like the same person from different generations and different continents.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm renowned for my mountaineering. And, yeah.
Okay, maybe not quite the same person.
You both breathe loudly though.
yeah, we do both breathe loud. We've both got some like
got some
airway
lung issues.
issues. Yeah, man. But dude. I like. There's a great synergy between me and Pepe. Just on like a personal value system and interests. Like, I mean, he listens to a lot of the same music I listen to. I don't know if he listens to young kid music or I listen to old man music, but it's one or the other, man. We just got to figure it out. And yeah, like I love the way that he produces coffee. And again, like I said, his value system is just so aligned with what I believe and how I see the world. So it's like really cool to be able to work with people in this context, both in competition and just in everyday like existence, to have his coffee in the roastery and to be able to collaborate with people who you see eye to eye with, who you're happy to be working with, not just because you're making money, but because there's a meaningful connection there.
Absolutely. And on the same day this podcast goes live, we're also launching the next release from Finca Soledad from Pepe's farm, Típico Majorado Natural, which is going to be flipping cool. Can't wait.
Banger of a coffee.
It is a banger of a coffee. So yeah, I mean, I think we all, maybe Katie to a lesser extent, but we all met our heroes in the coffee space, in the coffee world. I met Tim Wendelbo.
Yeah,
Timothy. Which was pretty damn cool, man. I must admit, I was, don't ever meet your heroes, but we did, and he was cool.
Yeah, he was quite cool. He made us some nice coffee.
We had an amazing Kenyan with him, which is exactly what you want him brewing for us. So.
Yeah, 100%. That was quite cool. It's so strange, though, because like, I think for us, it's so significant to see these people. And for them, they're like, hey, guys, how are you guys?
It's interesting, though, to see them, how they change over the course of the conversation, because obviously they're dealing with so many people standing at those stands and just brewing all day. But as soon as you guys start talking and like talking about deeper things than what the average customer would, they like open up a bit and like can see that you're in the industry and you understand and whatever. So it's cool to like leave the interaction where you guys are like on the same level, where you kind of started the interaction as strangers and didn't really know what to expect from each other. So it was quite cool for me to witness that like happening with you guys meeting all these people.
Yeah. So there are a few funny highlights that I just want to jump into here. I think, the first one that comes to mind was a quick chat that I had with Lance about his YouTube channel and our YouTube channel. And I was joking with him because we just released a video and it was getting like good traction for our standards, which is terrible traction for his standards.
Yeah, the arrows were green.
But the arrows were green, and he saw the arrows and he's like, dude, you got those green arrows, like it's that dopamine hit we were all after. And I just said, yeah, I thought it was amazing, had such a good laugh. Some cool stuff happened on the coffee sourcing front. Sam Cora from Honor put us onto Franceschi Coffee in Panama, and wow, what a coffee! We bought some coffee from them, and we're flipping stoked for that connection. So thanks, Sam.
Shout out to Sam Cora, man.
And then Sam and specifically Jordan coordinated one of the most amazing moments I've ever experienced in person. Fanie got to meet his hero of heroes, Mr. Hugh Kelly from Australia, from Honor Coffee. I think Fans, You know, you're a pretty cool customer, man. Like you're pretty chilled and like nothing seems to phase you. I've never seen you turn and run away from somebody out of absolute nervousness to meet them.
Yeah, bro. I don't have like that celebrity response to like many people, but like I saw Hugh and he was so much taller than I thought he was gonna be, which is so funny. And yeah, I was like, wow, that's you, Kelly. I don't think my hair looks good. Right.
Yeah, you just turned around like we were walking.
I think
out
your
of the
words
room and you
ran,
just, like,
bro.
Your words were, I don't think I'm ready for this.
Yeah, man. Nah, I was not preparing to meet you, Kelly, in that instance, but it was actually quite cool. You know, like I started out in the coffee industry, and like when I started realizing, okay, cool, I want to compete. Hughes was the first set that I watched. I distinctly remember that, and I distinctly remember being like, holy crap, that guy's good at what he does. Ends up he's pretty good. He's placed top 6 at multiple World Barista Championships, and he's been a very influential coffee professional. So it was very cool for me to meet him and interact with him in person for the first time. We chatted over Instagram a couple times.
And then he wrote you a love letter.
He did. Cheapest creepers. Uncle Jordan was so kind as to buy me a beautiful gift. He bought me some Nucleus Paragon chilling rocks. And Hugh Kelly signed a V60 filter, which I sleep with under my pillow.
And I think the words were, these stones are cool, but Fanie, you're cooler.
Oh yeah. Whiskey stones are cool, man. Yeah, so that was quite an experience. I mean, jokes aside, it was great to interact with him because he, like I said, he's such a knowledgeable coffee professional, and his field of interest and his scope of work that he has participated in is very similar to mine. So getting to ask him questions, number one about compound chilling and extract chilling, about barista competitions, and about his like delve into different coffee species was quite a special experience. Yeah, overall, like strong 7 out of 10 would recommend.
That's amazing. And you can't be in Greece without eating some amazing food.
Oh my gosh.
Woo.
I know we're jumping around a bit, but that souvlaki we had on day 1, I think it
Dude,
was.
yeah, it was our first day, the day before the expo in Athens, and we were walking to Mama's street food.
Man, I was hotter than I remember being in my entire life. My arm was
Yeah.
just sweating in that sling, and I was hating you guys
Yeah.
for making us walk past every good-looking restaurant
Yeah.
on the way to this random street food kitchen that we actually never got to.
Yeah. Luckily, we found. I mean, what is that? That location in? And I believe it's one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. You can't find it. You have to be lost to find it. That is kind of what that felt like. We just rounded this corner, and there was this very large Greek man, and yeah, he was about the size of a doorway, right? And he was packing like freaking, it looked like cilantro and tomato and freaking yogurt dressing and these delicious looking meats into these freaking wraps, man. And we were like, yeah, this is the spot.
Yeah, and kind of terrible customer service.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh, it was
tried
horrendous.
4 people before anyone wanted to
Yeah.
actually take an order, but I feel like that was a good sign. You knew the food was good because there were so many people there despite the bad service.
I remember watching a David Chang, I think his name is,
Yeah.
episode on Netflix. I can't remember what it was exactly. And he was talking about Chinese restaurants.
Yes.
And the dirtier the restaurant looks, the better the food's probably going to be. And this felt a little bit like
Yeah.
that. The place was
Exactly the
not
same.
like amazing looking,
Yeah,
but
it
the
didn't
food
look
was
sanitary,
incredible.
but dude, man, that meal was, we had a few really good meals, but that meal was really hard to top. The meat was super, super soft, and it was like,
Yeah.
so like, as South Africans going into Europe, that was like super affordable. I think we paid like
So
euro
true.
50 or something for
Wow.
those souvlakis, and compare that to the restaurant meals that we had later on.
Not €1.50.
Not euro 50, yeah. We had some good beers there too, which was super
Yeah.
nice.
Met the Coffee Collective guys at
Yeah.
Foyer,
Yeah.
cupped with Esther from Manhattan, which was really cool.
Yeah, I
Some great
met Danny
coffees.
Andrade, who just placed 3rd at the Coffee and Good Spirits Championships. We met him there, which is quite cool.
And all of this happened in 3 days. It
Dude.
was insane.
Yeah.
I had meetings, like potential meetings set up with producers we already buy a lot of coffee from. Like pretty much all the producers we work with were at World of Coffee, and there were about 5 I didn't even get to meet because we were just so busy running from one place to the next. And it felt like every free moment we had, we wanted to go and watch some of the barista competition.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. One of the highlights of my year for sure was
Oh,
going
for
to that
certain.
conference.
For certain. Yeah, that was quite an incredible experience, man.
So after World of Coffee, we packed up our fancy car and we drove off to Nafplio,
Oh my gosh.
which was absolutely awesome. It's a little beach town that is just so picturesque. I must admit I lost my temper a little bit trying to find our accommodation, and both Fanie and Katie are nodding in agreement.
Yeah, we had to sit down and all apologize to each other after that trip.
There was a couple of tense moments because you're
A
like
few
you're in a
tense
foreign
moments,
country
yeah.
and like the car's got the wheel on the wrong side, right?
And the
Dario's in a
GPS is
sling.
not working.
Yeah.
So again, nailed it. Found such a cool apartment.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And
Yeah, I don't
Nafplio,
know.
go look it up. It's an amazing town.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, but you were like pretty frustrated with the host, the Airbnb hostess.
Yes, they weren't answering.
Yeah, and we're like, we tried to WhatsApp call you and we couldn't. She's like, yeah, no WhatsApp. Right.
Yeah.
She has like a 3310 that she's cruising around with, and that is all. That's the only way that we can like communicate with her.
Snake is a good game, Fanie.
Dude.
So that was amazing. We had literally 2 days, so we made the
Yeah.
most of it.
It was such a bonus because we didn't really intend on having any extra time in Greece. You know, the flights are expensive and whatever, but in a hunt for the cheapest flights, it was like 2 days after the conference ended. So we just ended up like booking those flights. Figured out that we had enough time, like just enough time to drive to the beach and have a swim, have a sleep, and get back on the plane the next day.
Oh, bro, we did quite a lot in
Oh, we
Nafplio as
hiked that-
well, though.
yeah,
we
we
hiked
hiked all
that
those
whole
stairs.
freaking fort, man.
Yeah.
We cruised through the streets of Nafplio, which was quite amazing.
Bought some cool clothing. Katie got some cool
Yes,
clothes.
and
Yeah.
jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
that was
got
cool.
a nice cup for your mom.
I
Yes.
bought Lily, my little girl, her first watch in Nafplio, which was a big moment for me. Every time I've been through an airport in the last 2 years, I've been like, oh, is it time to buy her a Swatch yet? Because I've wanted to buy her a Swatch as her first watch for a long time. But she's only 4 now, so no, it was never the right time to buy her a watch. But I ended up, and I'm a fan of watches, and my dad's had a few Rolexes and whatever, so I ended up buying my daughter her first watch, a Swatch, from the Rolex shop in Nafplio, which was quite a moment. And yeah, it was a good time, man. We had a great time in Nafplio. Went swimming in the most amazing place, crystal clear water.
Yo, bro, we pulled up to that beach and I was like, this is not real life.
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
this place cannot exist. Right?
Exactly.
Like-
And before pulling up to the beach, we hiked up to the fort at the top of the hill.
Yes.
And what was the funniest thing you saw on the signage at the fort, Fans?
Crikey. Oh my goodness, dude. The murder holes. I still have questions, right? It's this whole like Greek translation. So you've got the Greek translation and the English translation of what the script said. Under the Greek translation, it goes Greek words, Greek words, Greek words, murder holes in parentheses, and then more Greek words. And the same thing on the English side. It's just like, there's no Greek word for these murder holes. Like, what is this place?
It was pretty insane. It was an amazing experience. The
Yeah.
view from that fort was absolutely incredible.
We had some awesome coffee at the top there. We brewed some AeroPresses at the top of the hill. We got there and we were like, crikey, I wonder if this person that unlocks these gates has to hike up here every single day. They unlocked the door and we walked straight into a parking lot. Right? So yeah, there's definitely another way up that hill.
A parking lot in paradise, man.
That was
Yeah.
pretty funny.
I was like, because we were quite hyping up this hike as well, because at this point of the trip, both Katie and I were like within an inch of death, basically.
Yeah, we were
right?
severely
But this is,
sick.
I've actually got it written in
Yeah.
my podcast recording notes. Fanie refuses to get sick as a point. And it was the funniest thing because we were in Athens and you were already feeling sick.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for a
yeah.
few days.
Yeah, I'd like on the second day of the conference, I was already starting to feel it in the back of my throat. Like
But you just
skipped
made an
out.
announcement that you will not be getting sick until you get on the airplane.
No, yeah, it was like, funny, how you feeling? And he's like, the flight back's going to be terrible.
Yeah, man. Now we had some interesting experiences in Nafplio because I also lost the screw in my glasses on the
yes.
beach the first day. And like Katie's, I think I said, you guys were like, oh, no, we need to get these fixed. I was like, oh, guys, don't worry about it. It could be worse.
Yeah.
And that line has stuck
Oh,
with
that's so
you.
true.
I
I think it's going to have to be tattooed on your body somewhere.
Yeah. It definitely will be. It's my slogan because it could always be worse, and it definitely was because the screw in my glasses could have fallen out like at Myanmar, right?
Exactly.
And it couldn't have been Nafplio, but we were in the Mediterranean, sipping on beers on the beach, sipping on Mythos beers on the beach, right? The water was so crystal clear.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, it really could have been worse. We had some great souvlaki again that night.
Yeah.
And then I drove us back to the airport while you guys
Yes.
slept.
Wow, dude, I've not slept like that since, bro. Crikey.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I don't know how we did it, but we managed to cram probably 3 months worth of experiences in Greece into 10 days. It was absolutely awesome. And I think we all needed a holiday once we got back.
Yo, dude, like I took a new pair of Vans to Athens and I walked through them, bro. Like they needed to be retired.
I think months later, Katie, you looked at your phone and you saw how many steps we were doing per day at the expo. It was like 25 or 30,000
Okay.
steps a day.
Yeah, so it was a lot of steps, man, because we were cruising around that expo.
Yes.
If they were serving geisha, we were there.
Yeah, we had some amazing coffees at the expo. Like, I mean, we mentioned some of the amazing coffees that we had initially. But on that trip, we got to taste some insane coffees from many producers. Got some Finca Deborah we tasted. We tasted obviously some Wilton Benitez. We tasted... what else
we had
did
we
taste?
had Takesi Geisha from Bolivia, from
Geisha.
both Monogram and Coffee Collective, and it was exceptional.
We tasted some coffee from Onyx, which was great. Obviously, Tim made us some coffee. Both Sam, Cora, and Hugh Kelly pulled us 2 different geishas. I'm not actually quite... I think we might have actually had some Franceschi.
Could have been.
Could have been Franceschi
Yeah.
with Sam Cora that he was roasting on the link. We had some really good coffees at the Arches stands, some Ethies and some hyper-processed coffees from Diego Samuel Bermudez. Yeah, just like all across the board, quite an insane like experience.
Absolutely. And it's really cool now to sit down and chat about it. And I hope for our listeners, I hope it's been entertaining to hear some of the stories. But for us, it's just like so almost therapeutic to be able to like reflect on it and go, wow, you know, in amongst the year that we've had, you know, it's not healthy to go like, wow, what a year it's been. Look at all these things we did and like list them off, because within each of those items on that list, there are so many memories and experiences. And
one thing we didn't even touch on was the Loring Street Party, where we
my
just ended up in the
word.
beer queue with like Paul Ross. That was quite something, because like obviously it was just quite strange. Again, Nicole and Jordan are so accustomed, so we were cruising around with Nicole and Jordan quite a lot after hours. And Nicole's quite the coffee personality, so everybody knows her. And Jordan, he's recognized by a lot of people in the industry, and they just like get like bro hugged by these people that not to fangirl, but we see them from afar, and we never get to like imagine what it would be like engaging with them and speaking with them. But suddenly they go from being people on your Instagram to being peers, and yeah, it was quite a surreal experience.
Pretty funny because we're in South Africa, and you know more than half of our listeners to this podcast are in Europe. We're in South Africa, and we have all of these people that Fanie's referring to, who we look up to and who we follow. So if we lived in Europe, we probably would have interacted with them 100,000 times already, but we don't. We live in the middle of freaking nowhere. So it is really cool to get over there and go and speak to them, learn from them, share ideas with them, and actually figure out that what we're doing is pretty damn good, like on an international scale. Like our coffee program, our approach, our philosophies are really solid.
Yeah, like just to vet our work, you know.
Exactly. And I think the 3 of us make a good travel team.
Yeah, for sure. You guys do most of the work and I'll just tag along. I'll carry the heavy bags and sit with the taxi driver.
I was going to say we put you up front and keep us safe.
Yeah, man. That's what
Yeah.
I'm here for.
It was a good time, man. Thanks for the great memories, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for the memories.
I think from a timing point of view, that's probably a good place to call it today.
Yeah,
We are really looking forward to getting the whole team around these microphones very soon to do a bit more of a year-in review. There's some cool episodes I'm recording next week with Nicole Battlefield Montgomery and Andrew, the founder of Akawa Sample Roasters. So you guys can look out for those in the future. And it's been an absolute privilege to spend the latter half of 2023 producing this podcast. I think those episodes will probably see us through to the end of the year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we do with this in 2024. Katie, thanks for editing. I could not stand listening to my own voice a moment longer. And it's been an absolute thrill. So as a sign out for this episode, thank you for listening. It's been a joy to share this with you, and we'll definitely bring you more of our travel experiences in the future if you're interested in that. If this was terrible and boring, please let us know as well, so we won't do this to you again. But either way, please share this with your friends. Give it a 5-star review on whichever platform you're listening to it on, and whether you enjoy this one or not, that's okay. We will be making another one, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.